quickly set up my camera. This was meant to be done via live stream on my computer, but it didn't quite pan out that way. Hey. So I'm going to have to somehow figure out how to do this on my phone. All right, awesome, I think I've got it. Hey guys, woohoo! So this is going to be the live stream class. I can't actually see any text. Oh, beautiful, here we go. Hi James and Brianna. Beautiful. Alrighties, I'll wait probably another minute or so and then we can get started. Actually, what I will do is sit down with you guys. So, hello. Awesome. How many of you guys have prepared cakes for this class? Could I get maybe a Y for yes and an N for no? Hello. All right. Awesome. We have a yes, we have a no. Okay. For those of you who are the no's, it's all good. You'll still learn something different now, or hopefully learn something new today. Beautiful. All right. I think we can probably get started. So if you guys have brought your turntable and your cake board, place your cake board onto your turntable. Hello, everybody. Awesome. Actually, you know what? We will do this on the cake board directly. So maybe take this off for now and grab your cakes. I've left mine in Glad wrap and I put it into the fridge to set overnight. The kind of cakes that are best for buttercream work are the mud cakes and your butter-based cakes. I will do my best to save the live. It's going to be really, hopefully we don't lose connection, but if we do, I'll just start a new live session and hopefully I can just congregate all the videos that have been created. Right, so grab our cakes. And again, it's rested in the fridge overnight, so they're nice and hard and you won't get as much crumbing and they're easier to cut. Take your serrated knife. This one here is by Wilton. It's a really, really awesome knife, this one here. And what I'm going to do is get you guys to hold it with your index finger along the blade. And this just helps to keep your knife straight as you're cutting. So what I'll do is score a line along the outside, right where the dome ends. Granted, it's always better to find the lowest point of your cake. So if you look... Hang on now. If you bring yourself eye level with your cake, excuse the no makeup right now, and you find the lowest point and start there. If you start at your lowest point on the cake, then you're going to get a nice even layer. If you start at the top, tallest section of your cake, it's going to end here and you're going to have a little slant popping on the other side. So again, holding it steady and scoring a line. Let your turntable do all the work, so try keeping your hand nice and steady. I love it because I can see on the camera just how steady I'm keeping this cake, this knife. And just score a line around that. It's probably easier to stand up while you're doing this. I know it is for me. You can score a line all around the cake. I'll go over twice just to make sure that I've scored it in the right section. And then once you are happy with the line, start sawing your knife back and forth, up and down. And then turn your turntable and inch that knife to the center of the cake. And following the guide that you made for yourself. Now I've leveled many cakes in my time. So it's just comes naturally to me to just start turning without looking at the line, but do look at your line if you are a beginner and haven't really leveled cakes before. Now I need a bowl to put this in. I'm just going to set it aside. That can go into the freezer and you can make cake pops out of that at another time instead. So I'm just going to wait maybe another minute or so until you guys are ready. Hello from New Caledonia. Oh, wow. Hello. Awesome. All right. Is it level? Can you guys see if it's level? Oh, okay, good point. If it is not level, where are you guys? There you go. Then find the lowest point of your cake, which might be about there. And just pop your knife there. Again, keep it straight. Do it this way so the knife's not pointed at you. And just saw back and forth and rotate your turntable, and it will automatically find the sections that are too tall. So sections where it's slanted upwards. And I had one pretty slanted cake. So pop that aside. And that is much better. Okay, awesome. I'm gonna say, next step. So if this was a freshly baked cake that I just cut into, there'd be crumbs everywhere. Are we all still here? We've been disconnected. Okay, awesome. They're gonna have to call me back. So next step is to cut our cakes in half. I always do this with any cake that I make. It's usually a minimum 4 layers of cake. So same steps again, just finding that middle of your cake and just score a line to guide you when you're cutting. Just like so. Awesome. Hi everybody. Yes, I do read the comments. I get to them really, really late because I'm doing a lot of other things in between, but I do try to get to all the comments. Any questions from anybody so far? Hello. Awesome. All right, so again, sawing back and forth and moving the turntable towards the knife and slowly finding your way to the center. Okay, just like so. Will you come and teach in Canberra? Ooh. I think eventually down the track I would love to. Here it is 1 a.m. Oh, thank you so much for tuning in at 1 a.m. That was really hard to try to find a balance for timing, where between everybody around the country, around the world, it's really hard to. But anyway, pop that aside and now do your second cake the exact same way. So what I'm going to do is quickly demonstrate again, but I'm going to do it in my sort of quick time. That way I can read your comments and answer any questions while you guys are cutting at home. So again, finding the lowest point. Saw, you turn your turntable at the same time. Pop that aside. And again in the middle, just score a line. But I've done this 1,000 times before, so I'm just going to go straight in. And that is our cake ready to start setting up. All right. Please. Any questions so far? I like cake, but I think it's hard to do. Not at all. If you just, it takes a lot of practice. If you are baking from scratch, it'll take even a little bit more practice, but you will get there. It's really easy stuff. Substitute for vanilla extract. Vanilla extract, not really. Is there any particular reason why you would need to substitute? Is like the alcohol content or something? How do you get your domes? Your dome flat. Okay, so when you're baking a cake, the easiest way anyway that I know is to cover your cake tin with aluminium foil as you're baking the cake. So cake batter is in the tin, you cover it in foil, pop it into your oven, and then once it's cooked through, put a skewer in the middle just as you would if it was not covered. And then the aluminium, it keeps a more stable temperature environment in the cake tin, and so it all rises evenly. It also traps in moisture, which is awesome. And that is how I try to get as least amount of dough on my cake as possible. That's a trick there with aluminium foil. Oh, good. Oh, your comments disappear. But that was a good comment. Vanilla beans is a great way to replace vanilla essence or vanilla extract. How do you get your buttercream? Hang on. Okay, how do you get your buttercream not to taste like butter? Ooh, it's a little hard with buttercream. Ooh, my phone's gonna fall. I guess adding in that vanilla extract would help. Doing the hybrid buttercream is really good, so using vegetable shortening and butter. That'll give it a bit less of a buttery sort of taste. And if you're adding enough icing sugar, it should also eliminate that oily texture, but not all buttercreams will give you that oily texture. It also depends on the brand or the quality of your shortening too. Hello from Puerto Rico. Hello. I'm hoping there's no time delay on this. Anyway, okay, you guys are waiting. Let's get started. So now we're going to build our cake. So I hope everyone's done cutting. I'm going to just clean my table later. Use your cake board. This is a 10-inch cake board. And I've got my hybrid buttercream right here. So this can go now. And it's rested overnight at room temperature. It's totally stable at room temperature. And I'm giving it a bit of a mix to soften it out. So you can do the same too. Just makes it a lot easier to spread. I'll also mention, if you guys weren't able to do the half shortening buttercream and you had to use all butter, your one's going to be really, really stiff. So I would recommend popping it into the microwave for at least 5 seconds at a time, for at least maybe 10 seconds, 15 seconds. I am at my rental right now, so I have a cat running around. It's okay, no one's going to eat this cake, and I never actually bake anything here at my rental. But if Chi-Chi comes to say hello, oh my gosh, she's going spastic. Yeah, just ignore her, she's harmless. And no one's eating this cake because there is a cat here. All right, so once your buttercream is all nice and softened, we can get started. How do you keep your cakes from being too dry? You can use a sugar syrup if you like. So sugar syrup, you can make at home with equal amounts of water and sugar over some heat. Let it melt for 5 minutes on the stove and then let it cool down and add to your cake. And that would be one of the better ways to keep your cakes moist. Now I've got a spatula. I like to use an offset spatula. These guys are really good because it gives you a bit of distance between your finger and the cake. So that's always good. And with a little bit of buttercream on the very end, I'm going to smear it onto my cake board. And this is going to stick my cake on the board. So I'm kind of pivoting my wrist back and forth as I go back and forth with my hand. So it's kind of like a mixture of the two movements to spread. Then take your cake. It can be any part of the cake. It can be the center. It can be the one that has the baked crust at the bottom, and pop it directly on your cake board. Oh, I just realized I scrolled up to see the comments, but now there's new comments at the bottom. Can I use Genovese sponge cake instead of mud cake? You can, but you need to use a soft filling like fresh cream or custard. If you were to use buttercream on the soft sponge, it'll crumb everything. It'll be really unstable, unfortunately. But yes, soft frostings will be okay. Make sure your cake's centered, press it down. And now we're going to start filling in our cake with the frosting. So again, take your spatula, got my buttercream here. And I'm just going to take about, looks like maybe 1.5 tablespoons of buttercream, and just slap it right in the middle. I take a little bit more actually. And again, that motion that we had before, so pivoting the wrist and also moving from side to side. So pivot, move, and we're adding a little bit of pressure to make sure that we can actually shift the buttercream around. And notice how my spatula angle is straight. I'm not doing this, and I'm not doing this. If you were to do this, your cake will be slanted this way. If you were to do that sort of motion up top, it could start to lift some crumbs. So keeping it nice and straight, and again pivoting back and forth. And important, rotate your turntable. Your turntable is your best friend in cake decorating. I also kind of shift upwards as well. If you guys are getting this happening, where you're getting crumbs at the back, it's because you're lifting up. So when you're lifting off, try scraping along the buttercream, or again, the exact same motion but this way instead. Don't lift up, or you'll take your crumbs with you. And I'm just spreading it evenly onto my cake. And again, don't be afraid to add pressure, so pressing down as you do this. Just going to quickly answer any questions. What do you do for cakes once they're done? We usually try to give them away, or they go in the bin. I don't really sell cakes anymore. Trying to get away from that. I want to just teach. Teaching is, ooh, chi-chi. Teaching is where I want to be. Yes, Swiss meringue buttercream is less sweet, definitely less sweet than American buttercream. But I don't like the whole raw egg thing. That kind of gets to me. So I just like to use a hybrid, which is nicer than regular all butter buttercream. So for those of you decorating with me, grab your second layer. This can be the one in the middle. So it doesn't have the baked crust at the bottom. It's the middle section. Plonk it right on top. Do not press down just yet. We want to bring ourselves eye level with the cake and make sure that it is straight. All right. So, turn your turntable, bring yourself eye level, make sure that it's sitting on there, not kind of lopsided or anything. And once you're convinced that it's on there straight, give it a press down. If some of the sides look a little bit more raised, you can just give them a bit more of a push in those areas. I know, but you know what? Throwing cakes in the bin, it's not so much of a waste because at least people are learning. You know what I mean? It might be a waste of food, but it was for a purpose. It helps me to think of it that way. Which is true anyway. So now for our second layer, again, grab some buttercream straight on the top. And again, same motions, back and forth. And then push it out to the sides. Are you guys happy with this camera angle? Because I can actually make this taller. Oh, here in, sorry, I should talk out loud. Does it go in the food bin? Here in Melbourne, there are 3 kinds of bins. We have the waste bin, which is for the food and all the yucky stuff. We have the recycling, and we also have the green bin for anything that's nature related, so leaves and debris, like your grass and stuff. But no, there's no specific bin for just food. So, I know in Italy there is, which is kind of cool. Yeah. You can donate baked goods to a shelter. Here in Melbourne, I've heard that is illegal. Apparently you can't just take your nice cake and go to a retirement village and be like, hey, here's some free cake. Apparently that is a huge no-no. Something to do with allergies and hygiene. But now take your next layer. Again, this is one of the middle sections. So what does a non-middle section look like? It will have a crust at the back because that's where the cake touched the cake tin. We reserve this for the top of our cake. So just plonking that on top. Bring yourself eye level again. And let me know if I'm going too fast or if I'm going too slow, because I feel like I'm going a little bit slow here. So, make sure that is on straight. See how the buttercream? Oh, okay. Someone is giving feedback. Top angle. Okay, beautiful. You guys want some top angle. I like it. I will do top angle. Slightly too slow. Okay, beautiful. I will speed things up. Okay. From here, I can kind of... I'm going to grab a box and put the phone on a box. I'll be right back. Alright. How's that, guys? A bit better? Although I need a foot to be... Whee! I need a foot to be at the front for this tripod. Okay. That's a bit better. If only I could zoom in. Can you zoom in? Oh, no way! That is awesome! Good, we are zooming in. Ooh, bring it down. Oh, too zoomed in. Oh. Nah. This tripod's not as good as I thought it was. Alright, now just hold still. I'll bring the cake to... Oh. Sorry guys. There's some technical issues here. Alright. Hopefully that stays. We have a nice zoomed in section. Okay. I think I need someone with me when I do this who can concentrate on the comments as well. So again, popping it over the top and just pushing the buttercream. I mean, you can do this as well. You can do it this way. Or, sorry, you can just glide it across and then back up. So glide it across and then taking the spatula off the cake. But again, we're not lifting up, we're just smoothing it off. Okay. Now once that is done, we will put our... Yeah, sorry. I'll zoom out a little bit without my... Yeah, perfect. That was gonna fall. And then we take our last section of cake, which is this guy here, with the crusted underside, and we let that face upwards, because that is a really nice flat and flush sort of section. Now again, we're bringing ourselves level, making sure that she is on there straight, and pressing down once you're confident. All right. So those of you working with all butter buttercream, you might need to pop your buttercream into the microwave halfway through and just soften it out again a little bit. Is this a good angle for you guys if I were to start doing the crumb coat like this? How tall is each layer? In total, this is 5 inches tall, so I'd say maybe 3/4 of an inch per cake layer. How long can you keep a naked cake for? About 4 or 5 days in the fridge. Great angle. Okay, beautiful. So you guys are happy with the angle? So I'm giving my buttercream a bit of a stir, just to soften it out for this last bit. And we're going to doll it right on the top like we normally would if we were filling it. So right in the middle, nice and thick. I'm going to stand up for this. What type of buttercream do you have? This is American buttercream, but it is half shortening and half butter. I have the video and the recipe on my YouTube channel as well if you guys need. And just as before, back and forth, pushing it out to the sides. Do it this way, and again, turning a turntable is so very, very important for this. And then once you're quite happy with how it's been spread out to the sides, I like to keep my my spatula centered. So my finger is right at the end and it's right in the center of my cake. I hold up to about a 45-degree angle, if you can see there, I just hold it right there and I let the turntable, let the turntable do its thing. Just to give it a nice flat top. So my finger's not over here, it's not over there, it's right dead center. And I'm keeping my spatula straight. Now some people tend to do this, and so that section of the spatula is not actually touching the cake. You want to physically make sure that's planted on the cake. And then once you're happy, just glide it off. How are you guys going so far? Ooh, closer to read. If you're a beginner baker, what is the thing you will need to improve your bakes? You're beginning, I think it's about everything, but I guess getting started on baking your cake is step 1. Step 2 is this. Naked cake is the best for beginners. Do you have a preference for buttercream type for naked cakes? This one here, the hybrid buttercream. Mostly because it looks beautiful and creamy and pale, very, very pale. Whereas regular buttercream doesn't. It has a little bit of a yellowish tinge. Yeah, are we good to get started on the next step for those of you caking along here? Yeah, I hope there's no time delay. I use Bakel's shortening, but you could also use Crisco. All right, we have Kelly saying yes. And Tess, that's good enough for me. Awesome. So, sorry about my shorts. Got a little bit of buttercream on the edge of my spatula at the very, very bottom. What I'm going to do is place it on the very top. And what we're doing is a, oops, just pop that on there, a back and forth pivot again with our wrist. Can you see my wrist? So I'm going like this, pivoting, and I'm also, again, going side to side. But again, my turntable is doing most of the work for me. So, 1, 2, 1, 2. And another important thing, add pressure. Do not be afraid of your cake. She's not going anywhere. So add pressure as you do this. And also notice the angle of my spatula, how it's nice and straight flush with the cake. I'm not doing this, I'm not doing this. I'm going directly straight with my cake. And once you've added a fair bit at the top, grab some more buttercream and have it going. Hello from Houston, hello. Powdered sugar, I use powdered sugar for the buttercream. And then slap it in the middle and do the exact same thing. I think what most people struggle with at this point, beginners, is not adding enough pressure and the angle of your spatula. And this I know because I've taught a few classes now, and there seems to be a trend with these particular problems. They're the most common problems I've seen, or like mistakes that people are making. And again, back and forth, adding pressure. And what's working on the cake right now at the bottom is that bottom section of your spatula. Notice how this is a little bit more lifted, but not quite like this. It's just ever so slightly elevated so that we can add pressure at the very bottom. And once you've added your buttercream, and it looks a little something like that, grab your bench scraper. I make these guys here, they're acrylic based scrapers and it's really, really good. You could use metal ones as well. Whipped cream is so soft. Yeah. Someone's getting hungry. Love it. So I'm popping it directly on my cake board and it's standing nice and tall. I'm going to touch it to my cake and keeping it as straight as I can, I'm going to start turning my turntable. And that spatula, that scraper is not going anywhere. I am adding a little bit of pressure, and if you can see inside, it's at a 45-degree angle. Come around this way. So it's not like this on the cake, it's kind of tucked in. Hope you guys are able to see that. Do you ever use Swiss meringue buttercream? I haven't. I've tried it a couple of times. but it's not, yeah, something I like to use often. I don't know, just the whole raw egg thing gets to me. Okay, and if you find any pockets or spaces like that, just add in more buttercream. I like to do it straight from my spatula because there's some on there. Sorry, straight from my scraper. And then smooth it out and keep going. Now, this next step comes down to personal preference. So you can make it as naked as you like. I'm actually going to throw out this section of buttercream that was on my scraper because it's got crumbs in there and you don't really want to use that again for another cake. So that is going in the bin. I am from Ethiopia. Hello. Oh, I'm glad you guys like it. Okay. So I'm going to keep scraping, and what I was saying before, scrape down until you like the look of your naked cake. Some people would stop here, or you can really scrape it down until you can very clearly see the layers of cake. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Oops. And scrape off the excess from your little bench scraper each time to get a nice smooth finish on your cake. Otherwise that buttercream will transfer back on there and you'll get more of a pulling happening. I hope you used instead of eggs in your recipe. Alrighties. Okay, you guys seem to be doing okay. I don't have any questions related to the cake right now. When I'm doing American buttercream, I feel crunches of sugar. You can add a little bit more milk to it, or you could beat it for longer. It helps to break down the sugar particles in there, beating it for longer. And just keep going around till you're happy with the naked look. I also find at this stage going around slowly gives you a much smoother and cleaner finish compared to going around quickly. Granted, the buttercream does tend to set if it's on there for too long, and you'll start to get that happening, all these little bubbles. If you had a metal scraper, you would run it under some hot water, make sure to dry it completely, and then go around slowly and it will melt that down. You'll get a beautiful smooth finish. You can do it with acrylic, but it's a lot easier to do it with metal because metal retains the heat a lot better. Alright, I'm going to say I'm pretty happy with that level of nakedness. How's everyone else going? How are you doing for time? Is it you guys at this step already, or would you like a little bit extra time? Here we go here. It could be too hot or not the right. Maybe it's because it could be too hot or not the right coating. Definitely I find when it cools down it starts to bubble a little bit, but again, everyone's got a different opinion, so it might be that as well. I'm at this step, ready to move on. Beautiful, alrighties. So, the next step is to clear off that lip of frosting at the top. So, I've got a my spatula. I'm going to angle it at about a 45-degree angle. I'm going to zoom out just ever so slightly, hopefully without breaking my phone. Alright, let's try to do this. Ooh. Okay, awesome. So, 45 degrees. And I'm starting at the very edge of my cake, and I'm not adding any pressure. I am literally just going to glide it across. So find the edge, angle, and gently glide across. And then again, just as before, scraping off any excess buttercream. Find the next section, and I like to do a little bit over what I've already scraped off, plus some. So I'm going to start where I've already scraped off, and again, bringing it in without adding any pressure. Make sure that your spatula is completely clean, or you'll end up getting little frayed areas in your edges. just keep going around the cake until you're satisfied with the edge. Alright, how are you guys going? Oh, beautiful. Good, good, good. We have, oh, come back comments. Come back. So Tonya is doing great with her cake, which is fantastic news. Who else? Can I use the scraper itself to clear off the lid or frosting? You can also use a scraper. I always found I had a little bit more control with my spatula though, but you definitely can. And you just do it a very similar way. So you'd hold it at that angle as well and just go across without adding pressure. The moment you start adding pressure, you'll start to get this section going downwards. So you want it all to be kind of cornerish. But yeah, definitely. Some people also do that. But I learned with the spatula. I find it a lot easier with a spatula. We've got, is it possible to make buttercream less sweet? Not really. You'd have to go for a Swiss meringue buttercream for that one. Slanted left, potentially. Or maybe it's the camera angle. Or maybe a little bit taller in that section, that's okay. If you're not satisfied with the, if your cake's coming out a little bit on the lopsided side, you could always add a bit more buttercream into those sections. Alright, I'm just going to grab my flowers to decorate and I will be right back. Thank you. Might wash my hands as well. How's everyone going? My cat, she's gorgeous. Just a disclaimer for those of you who have entered now, yes, there is a cat in my rental. No, this cake is not being eaten by anybody, and you should not bake or decorate with animals in the house. But for the demonstration of this class, I had to do it here at the rental because there's no way I'm doing it at my mum's with all those interruptions. Oh, how do you clean the cake board? Good question. So, take your spatula, make sure it's all nice and clean and there's no buttercream on there. And I like to, I'll just angle it this way. Spatula on the cake board, press pretty firmly, a slight angle if you can see. Can you guys even see that? Yeah, slight angle, and just turn your turntable. And that'll start removing that little film of buttercream that you can see there. And what you can't remove with your spatula, you can go in with a cloth of some sort, wet it a little bit so it's damp, and just clean up the edge. I'll actually do that, that way I can demonstrate it as well. Okay. So I have just some regular paper towel, and I've just wet it a little bit with some water, and I'm just going to go around my cake board. Try to get your finger right on the edge so you can get up close and personal with your cake. Alright, take your turntable and just clear that up. Move. Okay. Awesome. Where do you buy your cake boards from? There's a shop called Cake Deco or Bake Boss or Suzy Q here in Melbourne. I also buy from a place called Flower Power Australia, and they're like a wholesaler, so you do need an ABN to purchase off them, but they're really easy to come by. How long does this cake take to make? The naked cake shouldn't probably take you more than maybe half an hour. Really, you can knock this out in 15 minutes if you wanted to. Oh, I think my battery is running low. Is it best to always refrigerate your cakes before adding buttercream? Definitely. So that makes your cakes a lot harder because they've been in the fridge, and so they don't move around as much, they're a lot more stable, and they crumb a lot less, so you get a much cleaner finish on your cakes too. Will this be tiered? Nope, this will just be a single cake. You should use a non-slip mat underneath your cake board so it doesn't move when decorating. Definitely, that's a really good point. So just between your turntable and your cake board, put a mat there. Does really help too. Thanks for pointing that out. Do we need to disinfect the flowers? Yes, if you can. If you can wash them, would be great. Usually you could also put a film of baking paper excuse me, across your cake so it's not directly making contact. If you can find organic flowers, that would be awesome. But definitely give them a wash before popping them onto your cake. So I've used, these are carnations, I believe, little pink carnations. And what I'm going to do is just pop them onto my cake. Again, you would want to use like a berry if you can. So if you have some buttercream that you can pipe on, great. If they're washed and organic, just pop them right on. You shouldn't have any problems. Granted, no one's going to be eating the flowers. But yeah, if you want to use a berry, you can. And literally just pop them wherever you like. I'm actually going to, you know what? I'm going to grab some baking paper and I'm going to cut it. And we'll do it that way, because I know most of you are probably not comfortable with the idea of placing flowers directly onto your cake. Oh, there's some new comments. Any tips for shaky hands? Ooh, that is a good one. I guess when you're using the scraper, it should eliminate any sort of shakiness because you have something to stabilize your hand. That is a very good question, hun. I'm not too sure how to best help you with that one. Does anyone else have any suggestions? I'm going to grab some baking paper in the meantime. So to ease the sufferance, because I know a lot of people are not very keen at all adding flowers onto the cake directly, I'm going to cut a section of baking paper, and this is just another food safe way to do it. Popping it directly onto my cake, and the buttercream will make that stick on there pretty well. And if you have a Ziploc bag, it would work best. You could always just use your spatula to stick the flowers on top. So if you don't have one, because I didn't list it as one of the equipments to bring in, just grab a little bit of buttercream and slap it onto that piece of baking paper if you're not comfortable placing your flowers directly onto your cake. Now that is going to act as a glue for our flowers. So just pop it directly onto that section. You can kind of have it sitting upwards. Ooh, I kind of killed that one. And just pop your flowers on top. I'm going to grab some more flowers because I ran out here. Won't be too long. Okay, any questions? If you can either just put the buttercream in between the layers, or do you have to... Ooh, I've lost it. Sorry, guys. Or do you put some of the outside of the script? Oh, wow. Sorry, my brain is just jumbo right now. You can either just put buttercream in between the layers, or you can do it as she has here and put some on the outside and scrape it off. Oh, okay. I think you were answering someone else's question. Thank you. Oh, you'll probably forget to remove the parchment. That That's okay. I mean, I'm sure it's been done before. But no one's silly enough to swallow the parchment once they realize it's in their mouth. Well, alright, awesome. I don't really use simple syrup, to be honest. But you definitely can to make it more moist. Okay, awesome. Beautiful. So someone's giving this to their mum as an early Valentine's Day present. That is very sweet. And I'm just building on the layers here for the flowers. Now these aren't really secured on there, so you can add a bit more of buttercream too. And I'm not going to spread it on. I'm just literally going to slap it in there. So I don't want too much. But that's just so that they have something to glue onto and stand up. Awesome. Once you're satisfied with the look of that, you could add in any greenery if you have some, and that can hide all the spaces in between. I realized mine didn't actually come with any greenery, but they did come with this, and this is like the ultimate amazing filler. These are gyp flowers, and they just look so darn stunning when you add them to your bouquets or onto your little floral patch on your cake. And they also serve a purpose because they kind of hide all the little bits in between too. But does anybody else, I'm really interested to know if anyone else has any suggestions on what to add to create a barrier for your cake and the flowers. Does anyone else have any opinions on that? If you're applying them directly onto the cake sort of thing? And for those of you who have participated, please take some photos and maybe we'll do like a hashtag so I can see what you guys have done in this class as well. Maybe hashtag naked RDS. Rosie's dessert spot, naked cake kind of thing. Question, please? Yes? Oh no. You don't get your cake crumbing all over. Oh, right. Sorry, it's hard to keep up with the comments because every time I finish reading one, a new one pops up. And it, for how many can keep the plain cake at the freezer? If it's just cakes that have been freshly baked, you can keep them in the freezer probably for about 2 months or so. This, if you were to put this directly into the freezer, you could honestly go for 2 months. My friend's done it before and it tasted like brand new. It was really, really, really good. Oh, beautiful. Thanks guys, I'm glad you like it. I got my spatula from Coles actually. It was either Coles or Safeway. They have really nice kind of offset spatulas there. Anyway, doesn't sound like anyone's struggling with their cakes. But yeah, that is how you make a floral naked cake. I really, really hope you guys have learnt something different today. And if you did struggle with it, feel free to send me an email or any questions that you have through private message and I'll do my best to get back to you. I'm going to make this available on my YouTube channel. So any of you who missed out, follow along if you can. And that is all. I do have live sessions. I have about 3 of them right now that I'm publishing on my Facebook groups. And they're paid ones and they're actually really, really helpful as well. So we go into the watercolor design, into the drip cakes. There's a floral cupcake live stream that you can join as well. Very similar to what we've done today. So if anyone's interested, I'll leave a link in the description box below once this video has been posted to YouTube and we can decorate some more together there. But yeah, so this was our very first class for Livestream. I'm going to quickly answer any questions if anyone's got some, and then we'll call it a wrap. Those of you around the world can finally go to bed, and those of you from Aussie can start your day properly. So where do you get your, that one's already been answered. I love the idea. Do it more, please. Thank you very much. I'm really glad you liked it. I will definitely do some more, even just on YouTube live stream for free. So, but yeah, it won't be often because there is a lot that I'm doing at the moment. Oh, someone mentioned to cut the cake. Yes, I will. Awesome. Okay, let's cut the cake. So, to cut the cake, we first need to remove this pretty batch of flowers. I'm just going to make sure that I go under and grab that piece there of parchment paper. How pretty is that? Put it aside. And now, to cut the cake, I'm going to see if I can do this at an angle where you guys can see. It'll have to be on a flat surface. Now what I'm going to do is also grab you'll see what I'm going to grab. It won't come to me the day. I'm going to grab one of these, which name I have just forgotten. Some sort of cutting board. There we go. We have a cutting board. Let's make some room. And now to cut my cake, I am first of all going to take off the very edge section, going in maybe ½ centimeter or so, only because usually if this was a fully frosted cake and not a naked cake, this would be all frosting and nobody wants a mouthful of frosting. So I always like to take that section off first. And now I move in about 1 inch and I just cut straight down. Now before I complete the cut, I'm going to bring my cutting board a bit closer. And you could use something to grab that slice of cake with. Cut it all the way down and then onto your cutting board. Now from here, we can do one of 2 things, or in fact, probably one of 4 things. So once you have your slice, a dessert slice would be 1 inch by 2 inch by 4 inch. So that there would be your dessert slice, and you would slice, so that's 1 portion per person. It's a pretty big slice. Alternatively, you could do 1 inch by 1 inch by 4 inch, like so. And that would be your coffee serve. Alternatively, I hope you guys can see this, you could also just cut it in half for coffee serves. And so now you have 4 slices of cake. And that is how I like to go about cutting a cake. A 6 inch that we have here would feed anywhere from 12 to 15. Granted, my friend and I did an experiment and we tried to find out how many slices you could cut from this cake, and we ended up with 36. So really, it depends how you're cutting the cake. You don't have to do a full inch in. You could even just do it from here. You know what I mean? And there you've already added at least another 5 slices. But traditionally, 1 inch by 1 inch by 4 inches is coffee serve, and then 1 inch by 2 inch by 4 inch is dessert serve. But yeah, that is how we cut our cake. Do we have any other, might as well keep it here. Any other questions? I have never seen a cut like that. Oh, good. I'm glad that you were able to learn something different today. How do you suggest I give more support to my cake? I have problems with frosting oozing out. I think that would depend on the kind of buttercream frosting or the frosting that you're using. It sounds like your frosting is a bit soft and your cake is a little on the heavy side. So mud cakes are pretty heavy. As it settles, it sinks a little bit and the frosting comes out if it's not dense enough of a frosting. So I would recommend maybe changing the recipe if you can. Next class, can you put any, ooh, lost it. Can you put any filling on your cake? You could do ganache as well for this. Sorry, I didn't really quite understand the question. But you can add other fillings. Okay, I just had a blonde moment. Yes, you can. You could do a dam of buttercream. So the buttercream, you'd fill it up to here. And in the very middle, you could do like a ganache. You could do a custard instead. So you definitely can add fillings. Where do you buy the flowers? Usually organic markets would have flowers that are organic. Alternatively, you can buy them from your florist, but you will want to put a barrier of something in between the flowers and your cake. How can we make more of you and spread them around the world? You're gorgeous. You guys are the more. You guys are learning. You guys are going to spread this knowledge once you become inspired with it. And we're going to spread the cake love everywhere together. Is that my hair going in the cake? Awesome. I think we'll probably call it a wraps. Would this frosting be good at work within a hot country? Yes, because it does have the shortening in there, the shoots. The shortening is a lot more resistant to heat than buttercream. But your best bet would be ganache. Ganache is super, super great in hot weather. Cake, aren't you supposed to set the layers through the buttercream? Is that really a naked cake? Yeah, I'd say it is. Oh, hang on. That is definitely a naked effect. But you can make it as naked or not naked as you like. Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Stella, and thank you everybody for kind of being here with me and going through this process together and learning. It has been so much fun. Like, you have no idea. I was itching last night to be able to do this and was really, really excited. Granted, I did have like 5 nightmares of how I was late, how my cake was all sloppy, and just all these scenarios going on in my dreams of how I screwed this up. So I'm glad you guys have enjoyed it and have come to see this. Will I do it again? Yes, I definitely will. I actually have some live streams in the description box below once I publish this video, and I will take you to other live streams that I am doing. But I will be doing some more free ones too, but they'll be a lot later on down the track. Can we make coloured ganache? If you have white chocolate ganache and you add gel food colour just a little bit, you can do coloured ganache. One more question and then we'll call this a wrap. Won't the ganache set if you add colour? Ganache, with gel colour, if you add too much you can. A few drops won't affect the consistency. Your best bet would be to add powdered food colour instead. Oh, I love you too, guys. I'm really glad you think it was an easy process. And you know what? For those of you participating, it totally was, right? It's so easy to do this. Awesome. Thank you so much again, guys. I'm going to show my face because it's really weird talking to. Awesome. Okay. Have a great day, everybody. And yeah, I will see you on another live stream or just on the regular tutorials. Don't forget to send your photos of this cake to me. I would really, really, really love to see how you guys went decorating this cake. Bye, everybody. Ciao, ciao. Okay, let's see if I can stop the stream here.